I definitely felt blessed with a sense of meaning and conscionable awareness after I read it. One thing that I also noticed was that although you mentioned various religions and at the same time as knocking them down, you praise certain attributes of them as well. You don't specifically talk about your spiritual views. You know, whether you believe in a God. I got a sense that you did believe in a God. Um, and I kind of got the sense...
I'm not an atheist.
I got the sense that you also were a reincarnationist in a way. You kind of believed in the soul being eternal and the body being, you know, just a means to an end.
I do believe that. I feel it. I never thought that I was just here to live a short durational lifespan, and I, for no reason, I felt that it was when I was very young that things were important. Even the little songs that I used to write, written for so long and spent so much time working with, have developed a life of their own in that respect, and I think a soul does the same thing. The eternal nature of the soul is something that needs to be remembered. When I remember it, I'm very creative, and I'm very powerful, and I'm very comfortable with life. When I forget that is when I have the problems. That's when things are not as clear and as rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. It really opened my eyes, kind of seeing that, it made me feel more comfortable and calm in the lifestyle that I'm now in, because everybody's in such a rush.
Right.
You know. But also, one thing that interested me very much was when you talked about the human orchestra and a sort of harmonic scale in society being part of this human orchestra, and how similar frequencies connect people on the same level.
Sure.
Very interesting topic. Would you mind explaining that a little bit?
No, I like this topic. I've always liked this analogy and used it quite a bit. And that is the idea that not only as individuals, but as groups of individuals and communities, we have to be able to play together just in the same way an orchestra would have to play together. If it's going to be successful, if it's going to be a successful endeavor. In the case of life, where we want to have joy, we want to have meaning, we want to have elation, gratification, and a sense of fulfillment. The human orchestra can play a piece of music that can achieve these things, and in order for that to happen, many factors have to come together. And chief among them, the players have to know how to play their instruments, and they have to be in tune. If I'm playing in one key and you're playing in another, even if we're both good players, it's going to sound terrible. And I've been in a lot of bands. I've built bands. I've worked with players and musicians, and I've felt how that works. And there's such a dynamic involved in that. And when it's right, it's really right. But these factors need to come together. We need to be practiced players. There needs to be a good score also. There needs to be a good director, so keeping the tempo and such. The rhythm section needs to be playing with the string section and the horn section and such. If everybody's playing their own deal in a different key and out of time, and half of them can't read the score, half of them don't practice, they're sloppy players, all you're going to produce is a cacophony, a social cacophony, which is what we see in the world today. If on the other hand, this is a very utopianic concept, but if on the other hand people are reared to understand this and understand the importance of their role in the ecclesia, the human ecclesia, I believe it's not only possible, I think it is supposed to be that we can come together, just like a band that finally rehearses a song and can go out and play it and sing it in tune and play it right. And that's the social goal of humanity. And that same exact principle applies to us individually as well. I mean, we are an inner ecclesia as well, of mind, emotion, body, instinct, etc. all these things come into play, and those have to be balanced within us. And in order for us to balance externally, we have to be, the players themselves have to be balanced internally. They have to be good players. They have to be religious. We say religious like he practices religiously, practices his instrument. That's really that's how I define religion. That's really where the word works, because we have to become religious in our approach to life, intentional living, discipline, and understand that it's going to be our turn there to play our part.
That theory about how you said people, if they work together, can achieve harmony, ties in very much to my favorite teaching, the Yellow Submarine.
Yes.
How do you think they really tie together? Would you explain the Yellow Submarine a little bit?
Sure. The Yellow Submarine in some ways is the simplest, but it's also the first teaching that I wrote in this book of 24 chapters and such. It's just the idea that we're all in the same boat together. We're all on the same planet. You can't leave. We don't choose our neighbors. We're cast together. We're cast together in this life, and we have a choice of getting along together and making it enjoyable, and we're provided for. Or the other choice is to argue, and to find reasons to disagree. The idea that life is very, very precious, very important. What we learn in life, and how we become disciplined through conscionable thought and conscionable action and due diligence, and really being stewards of ourselves first. It's just so easy to get distracted and get pulled off into illusory concepts and modes of living. That's what makes the Yellow Submarine a cacophony. That's what makes it a dangerous, very uneasy place. And this is what I say we in general, as the humankind has created in our cities, in our lifestyles. We're just not really. We're living in a beautiful garden, but we're not really aware of it. We're eternal beings. We're eternal, radiant, creative beings, and we're not really aware of it. We're living in a dark, stultified reality scenario for the most part, and that is what has diminished the entire collective consciousness of humanity. There are some very radiant beings, and there are some people that are just blind and dark in the shadows. And so many of them. It's tragic, and it's hard to bring light in. And what is so ironic is that when you get to a certain level of darkness, you resent anyone who tries to actually bring light to you. That's demonstrated in the gospel of the drama of Christ.
Because it shows that they would have to work.
Yeah.
And people have become very lazy.
We crucify our the real teachers, and we follow blindly. We follow these blind leaders.